How do you share the gospel message with other people? Sometimes just thinking about it can be paralyzing. You mean I'm actually supposed to talk to other people about my faith? How will I know what to say? Well, that's what we're going to talk about today. In Ephesians 6, we have the list of spiritual armor that we're supposed to be wearing. As we're putting it on, verse 15 says, having shod your feet with the preparation of the gospel of peace. The right shoes are important because if your feet are uncomfortable, it's hard to do anything. When I was a kid, we would sometimes play so long outside in the snow that our boots would become waterlogged, and then we'd go inside, change our socks, and put bread bags over our feet, put the boots back on, and out we'd go again. It's no fun to go sledding when your feet are freezing and wet. Maybe you've heard of the terrible winter of 1777 to 78 that George Washington spent with his men at Valley Forge. The lack of supplies prompted Washington to write that the men were, quote, without shoes by which their marches might be traced by the blood from their feet. It's hard to be a good soldier when you don't have decent boots. The Roman soldiers of Paul's day wore sandals that had straps of leather placed just in the right spot where they wouldn't cause blisters, allowing the soldier to march for long distances. Sometimes they would also hammer pieces of iron into the soles, which provided traction, kind of like cleats. And it also provided them a weapon against a fallen enemy so they could trample them to death. Last Father's Day, after we went out for our family meal, my wife and I took our daughter to a shoe store to look for a certain pair of shoes. Now, they couldn't just be any shoes. Apparently, a slight variance in color or design can transform an in shoe to an out shoe. Since she was buying them herself, we went along with it. I thought, yes, I definitely have a girl teenager. So today, we're going shoe shopping, so we can have our feet shod with the gospel of peace. But before we do that, we need to understand what the gospel of peace is. Hang on till the end because I'm going to give you a few practical tips to help you know how to share your faith. The word gospel simply means good news. So the gospel of peace is the good news of peace. Ultimately, peace only comes through a restored relationship with God. That's the message of salvation. You might remember on January 15, 2009, when Captain Sullenberger famously landed his plane in the Hudson River after the engines went out. It could have been a terrible tragedy, but no lives were lost. Why? Was he lucky? No, he was prepared. Not only was he an instructor of safety and an accident investigator, but at the time of the crash, he was studying the psychology behind keeping an airline crew functioning during a crisis. 155 lives were saved, all because he was prepared. But how do we get prepared to share the gospel of peace? I'll give you 3 ways. First, know what you believe. You can't share something you don't know. Study for yourself and be places where you can get good teaching, like good Bible studies or, of course, church services. You might not always learn something new, but repetition helps make it stick. After all, that's probably how you learn the multiplication tables. The more you hear it, the more you have it. Second, know why you believe it. In our culture, it's seen as a virtue to question everything. While we might not have specific evidential reasons for everything we believe, we need to evaluate what we believe not only to make sure it's true, but to be able to defend it against other people. Third, after we know what we believe and why we believe it, we should practice sharing what we believe. Sometimes we might know what we think about something, but putting it into words can be difficult. So let me give you 3 tips that might help with this. Tip number 1, write it out. Might be your personal testimony or just some basic information about the gospel. You don't necessarily have to memorize it. You're just helping to get your thoughts in order. Tip number 2, rehearse it, both in your head and out loud. Go over it with your friend, a dog, a tree, whatever. The more you say it out loud, the more comfortable it becomes. Tip number 3, find helpful tools. We used to pass out these tracts that had like 10,000 words in them. Nobody's going to read that. However, today we're fortunate to have some good visually appealing tracts that we can hand out. I've also used things like the wordless book, or even just grab a piece of paper and draw out an illustration on it. So in summary, how do you prepare to share the gospel of peace? 3 steps. Know what you believe, know why you believe it, and practice sharing it. Then you'll be ready to go out and recruit other soldiers to join you in the battle. Hey, join me next time when we discuss the all-important shield of faith. I'll see you then.